Story time of the absolute scariest, most mind-blowing thing that has happened to me working at a funeral home. So I was pretty new here. I was there for like maybe 4 or 5 weeks at the time, and my manager asked me to go ahead and set up our chapel for our decedent. So I went and did that. I set up the flowers, I put up a beautiful portrait of her, and then I wheeled her casket in. Once I finished all that, I asked my manager if he could go check if everything looked good, because again, I was fairly new. He walks in there, he tells me, oh, everything looks great, everything looks beautiful. Oh, look, she is so pretty. And I'm like, right, isn't she gorgeous? And then he tells me, okay, let's just open up the casket now, so for everyone to come in. So I opened it up, and this man has been in the funeral industry for like 30 plus years. We lift up the lid. She doesn't have a face. I am not kidding. I have never ever felt anything so crazy in my life. It was like the scariest rush in my face. All the blood left from my face. And my manager, again, who's been there for 30 plus years, yells so high pitched that I went like sorda. I don't know what that word is in English. I went sorda, and literally this woman's face was gone. So what you could see was hair, and then nothing here. It was just meat and bone, just open, flayed out everywhere. It turns out that this woman was in a car accident and she hit a pole face first. I have seen so many things after this and seen things that you would never imagine, and she sticks with me forever because I cannot believe that we almost opened up that casket for her family to see. And for a grown man that's been working there for 30 plus years to yell out like that, just know that has stuck with me forever.
I believe with my entire heart that I encountered a demon at work, and I'm going to tell you guys about it. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Hannah. I am a hairstylist. Being a hairstylist, I have definitely encountered some interesting people. Never in my entire life have I experienced anything like what I experienced with this client. A hairstylist, you're really spending like one-on-one time with somebody, and I have never been so insanely freaked out in my entire life. So this was last year. I had a client come in. She was new. I had never met her before. She seemed really nice over like DMs and everything. It might be a little bit controversial, but I do double book some of my clients. I don't double book everybody, but if it's like 2 different people that I know that I could double book, then I double book them. So I had her double booked with one of my regulars. I started doing this woman's hair, and she told me that she's kind of into like some spiritual things. She also told me that she's just like really in touch with like feelings, and I was just kind of like, okay, like that's, I'm gonna change the subject because that makes me a little uncomfortable. But she kept bringing it up. I'm not even joking. This woman was telling me things about myself that there was no possible way she could have known just from looking at my Instagram. If she did follow me on Instagram, it was just my hair page, and I don't really have any pictures of my family on my hair page. But she started asking me questions about my family. At first, I just kind of thought she was trying to get to know me. Like, it was just very friendly questions. And I'm not joking. She literally goes, your brother looks a lot like your dad, right? And my little brother does look a lot like my stepdad. There was no way that she could have known that. So instantly, I got chills, and I thought it was really, really strange, but I move on. I am a Christian, and I do believe that when you're a Christian, you have the Holy Spirit in you to be able to discern these things. And the whole time this woman was here, I just had the absolute worst gut feeling. Like, I couldn't get over it. I was nauseous, I was shaking, and she was so nice. She wasn't rude the entire time. She was so nice. But she was just like, the things that she was saying would literally give me goosebumps on my arm. Then at one point, she was like, I just get the feeling that somebody in this room has an autoimmune disease. And I was just kind of like, what? I do have hypothyroidism, and I had never told her that. I've never posted that on social media. Like, that's just not something that I talk about, just because, I mean, I just take medicine for it. Like, I'm fine. So when she said that, I was like, I have like thyroid stuff, but you know, it's like not really that big of a deal. And she goes, you take medicine for it. And it wasn't a question. She was telling me. Kind of like, okay, yeah, I do. We just kind of sat there in silence for, I would say maybe 30 seconds. looks me dead in the eyes and goes, your medicine, it starts with LEV, right? I take levothyroxine for my thyroid. And that was something that she absolutely would not have known. And I felt my stomach drop again, and I got chills, and I was kind of just like, the whole time I'm trying not to engage, right? Because everything that I have ever learned about mediums and, you know, spirits and everything like that, as a Christian, I don't interact with that. I don't even go near it. I did not want to engage. I did not want to ask her further questions. I think she was kind of wanting me to be like, oh my gosh, like, tell me more. Knowing what I know, I did not, and I tried to change the subject as quickly as I could every single time she would bring up a new topic. The whole time I'm doing this woman's hair, I just have the most awful pit feeling in my stomach. I cannot shake the feeling that, like, this is evil. I don't know if you've ever felt an evil presence before, but it was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my entire life. Finished this woman's hair literally as quickly as I could. While I'm finishing her hair, she literally looks at me and she was like, your client that was in here, you need to text her today and tell her that there's something wrong with her. Like, knowing my client, she's my regular client, I've known her for forever. Like, she was freaked out by everything. I was freaked out by everything. Didn't text that client because I felt like it was super strange, but like I said, she's a regular. She came in every 6 weeks. And so the next time she came back, she walked in and she was like, Hannah. I literally was like, I know, I'm sorry, she's not here today. Like, I will never do that again. And I really haven't double booked that much since then, but I was so glad that I double booked that day because I can't imagine being alone with her for that long. And I told her, I was like, she did want me to tell you that you have some sort of, like, you need to go get your levels checked. That's what she said. She was like, she needs to go get her levels checked. And my client was just kind of like, okay, like, I'll keep an eye on it. We both laughed it off and we moved on and everything, but my stepdad does a lot of research on all kinds of, like, demons and spirits and stuff like that, because as a Christian, I think it's very important for us to be educated. That way we can go and guard our hearts. And I told my stepdad everything that I had experienced that day, and he was like, absolutely 100% you encountered something. Needless to say, that was the creepiest client I've ever had. Christians, guard your hearts because it's everywhere.
Have you ever had something really spooky to you happen at work? Like a haunted elevator, or the office phone mysteriously ringing several times after hours, but nobody's there when you pick up? I'm going to start a TikTok series about scary things happening at work and a story time kind of thing for Halloween. So definitely drop your stories, share this with people that you know have had scary stories or scary things happen to them at work. I'm looking for spooky, not scary like toxic boss scary. But yeah, if you've ever had anything happen to you, like seems haunted or really creepy, just really eerie, definitely drop it in the comments.
I used to work in a morgue for 10 years, and the weirdest, scariest thing I ever saw was this one cadaver, as we call them, a body basically. It was my job to clean them up and make their faces clean the blood off, make them look presentable for their families to identify them, you know, if there's been a major trauma. And this one cadaver, I noticed her eye was twitching, so I lifted the lid and there was a fucking maggot in there. A live maggot, so obviously you can't have that. So I got the tweezers, I tried to get in there, but the maggot was trying to embed itself further in. Her eye was doing that, and the maggot was trying to embed itself under the eye. So I had to go and get it. And I was literally an inch away from this lady's face, like that, just trying to get this fucking maggot. All of a sudden, her mouth slowly opened like this, as wide as it can go, like that. And I was like, what the fuck? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she went, and I'm not kidding you, I fucking legged it out of that room. I never knew a noise like that could come from another human being, especially a fucking dead one. Legged it out, got my superior, came back, and she was normal again. The maggot was still there. We had to get the maggot out, but that's quite normal actually. But her mouth was closed and she was just lying there. My boss wouldn't believe me. She sent me home. Thought I was fucking drunk or on drugs. Never went back to work. I worked there 10 years. And I've spoken to doctors since then, and none of them believe me. They say you must have seen something else, because that is physically, biologically impossible. A dead body cannot do that. But I know exactly what I saw. It fucking haunts my dreams. I have nightmares about it. It's something that I can't ever unsee.
When I worked in the nursing home, I always used to ask the hospice nurses, what's the creepiest thing or way that you've seen somebody die? Or what was like the creepiest last words? And I will never forget one nurse who told me she had this patient who was on hospice but didn't have any family to come visit him, and they would call the family and they'd be like, I'm not interested. Apparently this was not a loved man, maybe self-inflicted, who knows. But she said that right before he died, she saw black hands reach over the back of the headboard of the bed he was in. He was at home. And then the guy sat up, let out a blood-curdling scream, laid back down, and died. The stories that hospice nurses have, oh my God.
Just out of curiosity, have you ever had anything paranormal happen here?
I get so scared. Like right now, I'm so glad there's people here. I look to the ground. I don't even try to look. You know, it's other people have. I feel like I see like shadows out of the corner of my eye, but I don't even look back to. If I feel like I did, I'd go the other way.
That's what the girl that was our waitress tonight, she handed us the list of paranormal activity and she said, I don't like to look at it.
Yeah, I don't
She
either.
just left it face down.
It's normally just me at this time, and I turn off every light in the dark, right? And then I'm like walking around, and it's like no one in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try not to even look. You know,
That seems like the best way to operate. It's like if you're not open to it, and then like it's fine. Yeah, you can keep it closed. Yeah.
I don't even look ahead. I look to the ground and I just walk.
Thank you.
Have a good night,
You
guys.
too.
You too. That makes sense. Seems like it.
Okay, I have a ghost story to tell you. I'm in a new hospital and I was walking around and it's empty and it's kind of creepy, and I heard some noises and I started thinking about all the different like ghost stories that I have from years of working in ICU. But the creepiest story that I have, sorry about that noise, it's loud but I can't turn it off. The creepiest story that I have. So I worked in a hospital that the unit that I worked on had never been anything but a cardiovascular ICU, or cardiothoracic. It was hearts and lungs and heart transplants, total artificial heart, lung transplants, anything cardiac related. So on this floor, there was a patient that we had one time. There was a particular room that kind of gave you the heebie-jeebies when you walk past it. And we had a patient in that room that he was not a nice human. He was somebody that I had actually known like outside of the hospital, so I never took care of him because it was a conflict of interest. But one night he was confused, so he was just saying kind of mean, hateful things. But one of the things that he kept saying is he kept using a racial slur, the N-word, and he kept saying, "Get that little racial slur out of here. He's playing in here. Get him out of here. I don't want that little racial slur in my room." And everybody, like, this man, I didn't like him outside of the hospital and as a patient, and was confused, and it was not good. But anyway, he ended up leaving that room, got better, left. And then when you're in the hospital, you can get confused, and it's very normal for you to hallucinate. You have medications on board, like, that's just kind of a normal thing. It just kind of, sometimes your true colors show up whenever you are on medications. I've had women punch me that, their family members say like, "Oh, they're so sweet and kind," but then they get on, medications, and then they are, hitting and kicking. And anyway, anesthesia can do that to you, as well as medications, and even your sodium gets off. There's all sorts of things that can influence you. So we didn't think much of it. I think it was like 2 days later, not just a couple days later, we had the sweetest little old lady in that room, and I did take care of her. She was adorable. I swear I can't remember, she was in her late 80s, but she was so sweet and so cute, poor lady. But she was not confused, and she kept telling me, she was like, can you get my purse for me? Give me my purse. I really need my purse. It's over there. And I was like, what do you need your purse for? And a lot of times we don't give patients their belongings because there might be extra pills in there and we got to know what they're taking. So I said, well, let me help you go through your purse, and what is it that you want out of there? She says, I have some candy in there. I really want to get some candy for that little boy. He keeps coming in here and playing, and I have some candy that I'd like to give him. And I said, "What, there's no little boy? And she says, yes, there's a little black boy. He keeps playing over there in the drawers, and he's looking for some food, but I have some candy, and I'd like to give it to him." This unit had never been a pediatric unit. There was never children. There wasn't any children on the unit, and nobody was visiting, especially no children. It's pretty creepy.
So when I was in high school, it was super popular for the high schoolers to volunteer at the local haunted house, because even though they didn't pay us, it was just kind of a fun thing to do. You put on a scary costume, scare people you might know, it was just fun. Well, one night I was just doing my role as a clown in the clown room, waiting for people to come in, but people started coming in like extra freaked out. I thought maybe the actor in the other room was like just really into his role tonight, but this one guy walked in, he was super pale, shaking, and I was like, clearly he's seen something really bad. At that point, I checked to see what was going on in the other room that was freaking people out so bad. And when I walked in, I saw one of the actors slumped over on the floor bleeding, and I knew that wasn't part of the show. So it turns out that the actor had been stabbed with a penknife multiple times, and there was a huge investigation, but the guy who did it was never caught, mainly because our haunted house was so low budget that there were no cameras anywhere, so it made finding him pretty much impossible. The worst part is that apparently he could have survived if someone had helped him, but everyone that was going through the haunted house just thought he was a prop and kept walking. So for the Halloween season, if you're going through a haunted house and you see a prop that looks a little too real, please check it out, because you truly never know.
I used to work at a haunted house, and I pitched a room that was a long black hallway leading to a door that said employees only. And if you were brave enough to open that, there was a sweaty guy in half a gorilla suit eating a sandwich saying, "You guys can't be back here." This is obviously fantastic, but I think we can improve upon this in terms of rooms that would be terrifying to a certain personality type. For example, you have a room that says "Do not enter," and then when you open the door, it's set up to look like the workshop where they make their costumes and stuff. But when you open the door, it knocks over a can of paint and splatters it over everything, and somebody starts yelling at you. Or there's a door that again has some kind of a warning on it, and when you open it, it looks like it has opened to an area where people are waiting to get in. And it's set up so that when you open the door, you bump into an old lady who's carrying like a cup of coffee, and then she spills it all over herself. Or there's a room that's not marked at all, and when you open it, it's just a regular bathroom, and there's somebody sitting in there on the toilet. And it's rigged so that when you close the door, there is now a plainly visible sign on it that says restroom. And then they like have somebody in the hall filming you on their phone saying, "Hey, I caught this pervert breaking into the restroom." Share your own ideas for fourth wall breaking haunted house attractions.
I spend a lot of my spare nights doing deliveries for DoorDash. It's my way of getting extra money while also not needing to commit to a more strict second job. I started driving around 9 p.m. on this night and steadily took on some orders until 11, where it slowed down a bit. During this time, I just drove around the shopping center that had most of the fast food restaurants people often ordered from, and eventually another order came through. It was a regular order to be delivered about 4 miles away. After getting the food, I started the directions to the address, and it was almost immediately apparent that it wasn't a house. I scrolled in on the map, which only showed streets and buildings, and the address it pointed to was along a street that had no buildings on it. It looked kind of like an empty plot of land, but the DoorDash map was never that great, so I just started driving and decided to at least check it out and maybe call the customer if there was an issue. I drove out, taking just under 20 minutes until I reached the street it was on. This street was very bare, no houses or crossroads, and no cars driving on it. When I got to the end, it became a gravel road, and on the side was a small wooden sign that was too weathered to be legible. I pulled onto the gravel and turned my brights on, and right away I could see something far off down the road. I drove in closer, and as I approached it, my phone dinged to let me know that I'd arrived. In my headlights was a small mobile home, or some kind of RV, and on the door were poorly painted numbers. I looked back at my phone. 2760. It was the address. I got out, holding the food in my hand as I walked up to the RV. Getting closer, it was a bit unsettling to look at. It was overgrown and old, which was strange considering it was a mobile home meant to be moving around. I gave it a knock and waited. This was a rare cash order, which made more sense once I saw the place, but it definitely didn't make me feel good having to stand here. As I looked around, an eerie feeling loomed over me. This place was surrounded by the woods with no lights anywhere. Past the RV, it was complete darkness. I heard something from inside, and I prepared for them to open the door, but then a voice to my right startled me. I looked over and saw a man smiling at me, standing by the corner of the RV. He asked if I had his order, and I nodded, apologizing and walking it over to him. I handed it off and said his total. The man reached into his pocket and pulled out a $5 bill, then smiled again and said he just needed to grab the rest. He turned and walked back around the RV while I stayed where I was. This whole interaction in writing doesn't seem as off as it was in person, but I can tell you there was something very wrong about this guy. It was just something about the way he acted and said everything that gave me chills. I waited for a minute or so before getting more nervous and looking around the corner to see where he went. In the distance, I saw a figure standing by what looked like the dark outline of a shed. They were not walking, they were just standing there. As the fear grew inside me, my head jolted around, hearing the door to the RV opening. A different man looked out at me, and just as I started to greet him, he slammed the door shut. My heartbeat now intensifying, I looked back out at the man who was by the shed. He was now walking back toward the RV, but had something else in his hands. In the moment, I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but it was either a long bat or a rifle. I ran back to the car, getting in and turning it on with shaky hands as I put it in reverse. The man came around the side of the mobile home and stood calmly in the darkness as I drove off. I don't know what happened there, but I wasn't exactly keen on finding out. I went straight home afterwards and debated calling 911, but was caught up on the fact that I didn't actually know what was going on. In the end, I made the regretful decision not to notify the police. Whatever happened that night will remain as just the strange encounter it was, with no answers to the true nature of it.
is the creepiest thing that happened to me at my gas station. So it is a Friday night at 11 o'clock, and this old lady comes in, and she's asking for directions. Now at this time, both our store and our parking lot and pumps are completely empty except for her. And she's looking for a street which is only 3 streets down. So I give her the directions, and she says thank you, and she leaves. About 20 minutes later, she comes back in. Now at this point, we've had a customer or two come in and at the pumps, but when she comes in, again, there is nobody in the parking lot and nobody in the store but just her. She asks for the same directions again, and I'm thinking, oh, she just must have forgot. I say, it's 3 streets down, and that's the street you're looking for. 20 more minutes pass by. We have had no customers in either at the pumps or come inside, which is an impossibility at my gas station when we're right next to a popular restaurant and a club. So Friday nights are very busy for us. There's never not customers. So she comes in a third time. We have the same exact conversation, and again, she is treating it like we have never talked before, ever. And I give her the directions, and she leaves. And at this point, me and my coworker are talking to each other like, what is going on here? Does she need a welfare check by the police? Like, we're genuinely concerned for this woman. And 20 minutes pass by. And again, we have no customers at all, which is extremely strange. We repeat this a 4th time. She leaves, and then my coworker and I are genuinely guessing what the heck is going on. We have no customers. The only person is this old lady who keeps coming in and asking for the same directions like we've never talked before. We're generally starting to get like creeped out. Like, this is so weird. Like, something supernatural is happening. And then we check the date, and it's a full moon. We're like, okay, that explains some of it, but not all of it. Crazy things happen on full moons all the time. So she comes in for the 5th time. Everything is exactly the same. And we're expressing genuine concern for her because we don't know what's going on here. And so she gets the information. She can obviously hear that we're very worried about her, but she gets in her car, and I go down to the end of our parking lot so I can watch her car and see what she does. Is she turning too early? Is she turning too late? What's going on here? So I get down and I see her car drive and drive and drive, and then she is at the 3rd street. And then she goes past the 3rd street, and I'm like, oh, that's probably what is happening. But then the car just disappears. So my best guess is that this old lady was a spirit who was trying to cross over. That 3rd street was the barrier, and that we showed enough concern for her that she felt comfortable enough to finally cross over. And that was...
Yeah, very rarely do I watch a clip that genuinely gives me the chills, and this one did it. So this is Dustin Frazier. Now before you watch this video, I want you to go over to his channel and watch this clip completely unedited, because there's some stuff in here that genuinely creeped me the hell out, alright? Once you're done, go ahead and come back here, and I'm going to take you through everything that I found. So the setup is, he's at work at night at a hotel, I think it is, and he just sent a Snapchat to his friend. After he watched the Snapchat back, he noticed some things that really he couldn't explain because he didn't notice them at the time. This reaction that you're watching right now is him after he had just saw it. I'm going to go ahead and tag his channel below. And again, once you go see it, come back over here and I'll kind of take you through everything that I found. If I have missed anything, you guys go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And if this is the kind of content you like, check out the playlist. Like, share, and follow for more.
I just got to work and I feel like all day today I felt bad. Honestly, it's less like a little bit. I felt bad. Honestly, it's less like a little bit. And I don't know. I feel like I need to go to a doctor, but like I'm constantly just like nauseous and I don't really know why. Like, I have tried to, like, take medicine for it and stuff, but I don't know, it doesn't seem like it really does anything. And then it doesn't seem like it really does anything. And oh well, that if you wanted to swing by and say hey, like, you could. Oh, I can't see shit. I also hate that they always keep this room so fucking dark. Like, come on now. I also hate that they always keep this room so fucking dark. Like, but anyways, yeah, if you wanted to swing by and say hey, then, you know, you could. But yeah, I'm just chilling.
Okay, so stitch this if you also had something crazy and unexplainable happen to you at work. I'll go first. My very first job was working at a grocery store as a bagger and a clerk when I was a teenager. I had worked there for quite a while, at least a year or two, and it was in a really old building, and a lot of times all the other people that had worked there longer than me would always tell stories about how this grocery store is haunted because of how old the building is. And everyone was dead serious about it, and they would say weird things would happen around the grocery store, and they didn't like working nights and stuff like that. Fast forward, like, I don't know, a year or two after starting there, I was off my shift and I was going to the back to get some groceries for my mom. She had given me a list to just bring some stuff home from work that day. And I went back to the dairy case to get some milk. And I opened up the dairy case and reached down and grabbed a gallon and was about to stand up when something kind of really loud said, "Get out of here right now." And it was so abrupt and loud that it like started me, and I dropped the gallon of milk, which doesn't happen to me often. My wife would tell you that I don't scare easy, but I got startled and I dropped the milk, and I'm like sitting there trying to comprehend what just happened. And then I realized, oh, it's just my boss, Russ, who's a big prankster and he's got a good sense of humor. It's just my boss, and he's back there in the dairy case probably loading up the shelves or something like that. So I close the dairy case, I pick up the gallon of milk, and I walk back up to the front, and as I'm walking up out of the manager's office, just in the corner of the building, out walks my boss, Russ. And I'm like, what just happened? And so that was my first experience working at the grocery store that everyone in town said was haunted, but I never believed it.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I had to go to town for work, and I was gone for a total of I want to say 8 months at the time. Obviously I didn't want to pay for my rent whenever I was gone, so I decided to get a sublet. Just disclaimer, I'm not blaming her for this. This could not have anything to do with her, but I'm just stating what I know. So anyway, so there's weird energy. I'm trying to just ignore it for the most part and not really think much of it, but I am, I am very sensitive to energies and very sensitive to spirits and stuff like that, so have been for a while, but I haven't ever felt anything in my house. I've only, it's only been weird experiences out in the world. But anyway, get back. It just feels weird. There's just something off about the entire apartment. But mainly, the main part where something's off is in my living room. I don't know, but on that side of the house, it just feels dark. And I couldn't figure out why, or still don't really know why. I started looking at my cameras in the apartment just to see if there was anything weird or off that was happening, or just the basic paranormal things you would look for, of things moving or voices or whatever. And I was back for probably I don't know, I was back for probably 3 months, maybe 4. And there was one time where I was talking to my dog and I had just given her a treat. She was eating, and I didn't hear anything while filming her eating her little carrot. And I played it back. There was a moment where she just stops completely and stares right next to me like someone was there, which she's been doing more and more since we've gotten back to the apartment. I think that's when I asked her, like, is it good? Just to get her to, like, you know, distract her. And in the video, when I watched it back, I heard a whisper, and I listened to it over and over again. And I don't want to, like, put out what I think it says. I kind of want you to listen and, like, let me know what you think it says. But I have my opinions, and I'll share in the comments. But same day, I'm going to get ready for work, and this is maybe like less than an hour after the video. So I'm already, like, you know, hyper aware of something going on. So I start getting ready, and I'm in my room doing my makeup, and, like, thought I hear things, but of course I feel like I'm being paranoid at this point. There's this one point where I'm getting ready and I swear I heard something, and honestly I'm just so curious at what's going on in my apartment at this point that I'm like, let's go back to the security cameras, let's see what we can see or hear what we can hear, and then just kind of, like, go from there. Like, maybe it's nothing, maybe it was just like a one and done, but, like, no, I feel like this thing wanted my attention. I decided to wait to, like, watch anything back until I'm out of the apartment and I'm, like, in my car, headed to work, whatever. And so I get in my car and I put my phone on, you know, to the car, trying to figure out, like, what we can hear through the car speakers. I start playing it, and, like, everything's, like, normal, fine. You can hear me kind of, like, fumbling around in the back, but it's nothing, like, I'm not talking, there's no voices, I'm not talking to anyone, I'm not on the phone, nothing. I'm listening and I'm driving along, and I'm like, all of a sudden, and it was, like, unmistaken, I hear a woman's voice say something. And again, I don't want to put it in your head of, like, what it is, so I would rather, like, you just let me know in the comments if, like, what you hear for both of these videos. I've dealt with spirits before, but I've never had to, like, get them out of where I live. And so this was, like, this was new for me, new territory. So I, you know, post it and I'm like, friends, help. I think there's a spirit and I don't know if it's a happy one in my apartment. So, you know, I'm getting comments, and, like, multiple people were like, get some sage, which luckily I already had. Walk around the house, just let this spirit entity, whatever you want to call it, let it know that it's your home and you have to, like, tell it to get out. And so I look like a crazy person doing this in my apartment. So since I had saged it, I haven't really heard anything since, but, like, I still feel a presence. Like, one of my best friends stays over a lot and they'll sleep on the couch, and he was saying, like, he could feel in the middle of the night, like, something there. And he was like, I was up almost all night, like, he was like, I was in and out of sleep all night trying to figure out, like, what's going on. I didn't tell him about this because I didn't want to freak him out. And then whenever he said it, I was like, okay. I feel like at this point I'm just kind of living with whatever it is. As long as it stays neutral, we're good. Like, I can coexist with whatever it is. I feel like since then it's been better, but I definitely still feel it. It, you know, feels a little weird every now and then, a little dark every now and then, but as a whole, it does feel better. Anyway, I'm gonna put the video up next, so let me know.
Is it good?